Hey, what's up guys? Josiah Novak with The True Transformation, and today I want to talk about how, or rather I should say what, diet you should be following when you're stuck in quarantine, when you're stuck in the house, don't really have anything else to do, you're stuck around food, snacks, you might have family that want certain foods that maybe don't fit your calories. What should you do? How should you stick to a diet? What are some strategies you can follow so that when you finally are able to leave the house, you haven't gained a bunch of weight, and worst case scenario, you've maintained your weight. Hopefully, you might have even lost some weight, built some muscle in the process, but you leave the house, you feel better about your body, you feel good, you don't feel like you have a ton of work to do once this whole thing is done with. So let's jump into a few tips on how to set up your diet when you're in quarantine. All right guys, first things first, let's just address the monkey in the room, or the elephant in the room I should say. Ultimately, if you're stressed out and this whole thing has just turned your life upside down and you're really not sure what you should be doing, you don't feel like eating perfect, it's okay not to beat yourself up. Like, don't think that being perfect is what everybody else is doing. Like, you're ultimately in the same spot that a lot of people are in. A lot of people have lost jobs. A lot of people are dealing with family members who have lost jobs. Kids are home from school. Work might be shifted from an office to the house. We don't have a perfect environment right now. So I don't want you to think by any means that you should be perfect with your diet, that you shouldn't grab something healthy or, something tasty that isn't the healthiest thing. Ultimately, get your mind right first, okay? Don't beat yourself up. The last thing you want to do is make yourself feel even more guilty by enjoying something that's going to make you feel better. Okay, so let's say you do want to jump into something that is relatively strict, or at least is not going to allow you to gain weight throughout this quarantine process. What are some strategies that you can follow to make things a little bit easier on yourself and the people that you're in your house with, okay? So first thing you could possibly do would be to set up some kind of calorie cycling or carb cycling that you go and do throughout the week. What does this look like? Well, it simply means taking some of your calories or carbs, putting more on 1 or 2 days a week, and then the rest of the days eating a little bit less. Why is this something you should do while in quarantine? Well, if you're surrounded by a bunch of food all the time and you start eating a little bit here, a little bit there, next thing you know, the calories start to add up. If you restrict those higher calorie days to only 2 or 3 days a week, then you know all you have to do is get through 3 or 4 days of being lower calorie, and ultimately those higher calorie days will provide some enjoyment, some fulfillment when it comes to your food. Maybe you can eat something that is on the menu for the family that night. Ultimately, you don't have to stress being higher calorie, higher carb 3 or 4 days a week. How could you set this up? Well, you could do it a few ways. You could do 2 days lower calorie, lower carb, 1 day higher calorie, and repeat. You could do 3 lower, 1 higher. You could do 4 lower, 1 higher. You could literally just go lower, higher, lower, higher, lower, higher. Ultimately, at the end of the week, what's most important is that you hit your weekly calorie goals, your weekly macronutrient goals. That's a great thing to do when maybe some nights are higher calorie dinner nights. Maybe the family wants spaghetti, and one night they want pizza, one night they want burgers, and you're like, oh, I gotta say no to everything. Ultimately, if you have a few nights a week where you can partake, it's gonna make this whole thing a whole lot better. And then the rest of the time, you're just dialed in, you know, okay, I'm lower calorie today, I'm just gonna stick to whatever I'm supposed to be eating. Tomorrow I'll be able to eat something higher calorie. The second thing I would recommend is intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is not a magical tool by any means. Fasting is simply going longer periods of time without food and then having shorter windows where you eat the majority of your calories throughout a day. Or you might go a longer fast where you have a 24-hour fast and then you eat for a whole day. Ultimately, what it is just scheduling your meals at a time where you're more than likely to want more food or need to eat more food. It's a great thing to do when you're stuck at home all day, where you have a regimen, where maybe it's from the moment you wake up till 12 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you're not eating any calories. Maybe it's just coffee, water, maybe an energy drink, but ultimately you're not eating any food. And then you're having 2 or 3 larger meals from the moment that window starts to, whenever you decide to close that window. It could be 12 o'clock p.m. to 8 o'clock at night. It could be 2 to 8. It could be 12 to 6. It doesn't really matter. The point of this whole thing is to have some guidelines around when you're actually going to be eating. So that way you're not tempted to just grab food all day long. You're like, nope, in the morning I'm not eating anything. That eliminates the temptation. And then I'm going to have my normal meals in the afternoon. And since I'm having larger meals, I'm not going to be as hungry. I'm not going to be as tempted to go grab a snack after dinner. I'm going to have more fulfilling, more satiating meals. That's where intermittent fasting can work wonders. Now, a cool thing is if you combine both of those things, if you combine cycling your calories, cycling your carbs with fasting, That's where I see a lot of people have major success, okay? Because ultimately you're combining the best of both worlds. It's something that I'm teaching my clients in our 30-day Get Lean in Quarantine Challenge, which is going on right now. You can check it out. There's a link in the first comment. But what it does is it gives you a couple guidelines, one for the type of food that you're eating and the quantity, and the other for when you're eating. And it gives you all the best of both worlds because you still get a bunch of carbs, you still get to eat larger meals at night with the family, even on your lower calorie days. Because if you're fasting, you're never gonna have small meals. You're gonna have pretty sizable meals that fill you up, that don't leave you wanting more, like you just ate a quick snack and you just wanna eat something immediately after. So you could cycle your calories or cycle your carbs, same thing, along with implementing some fasting time. That's gonna be a magical way to set up your nutrition when you're stuck in the house, routine's kind of been turned upside down, you're surrounded by food and snacks all the time, you need some guidelines. That's a great place to start. Okay guys, to wrap this up, ultimately, when you're stuck in the house and you're surrounded by food, willpower is gonna come into play. So do me a favor, don't think that willpower is never ending and that you're ultimately gonna never run out of it. You may run out of it because of stress. You may run out of it because you're busy working all day, the kids are running around like crazy, you're just losing your mind, and you get to the end of the day and all you want is to sit down, have something delicious, watch a movie and call it a day, right? I get it. I've been there. I still am there some days. Willpower is not something that is endless, that we have a never-ending supply of. So what do we want to do? Well, we want to tackle our most challenging tasks early in the day. Okay? Don't leave things that stress you out for later on. Knock out the things first thing in the morning. They're going to take up the most energy, that need to get done the fastest. Use the tools that I talked about with fasting, calorie cycling, so that when you do reach the end of the day and that willpower is starting to drain, you know, at least I got a good chunk of calories and I can eat something that I actually want to eat instead of just saying no to food and going to bed on an empty stomach. That's the worst thing you can do. Finally, I'll reiterate, don't beat yourself up if you slip up. One bad meal never made anybody fat. Just like one great meal never made anybody ripped. So don't get bent out of shape if you mess up one time. And also don't overly celebrate if you had one great meal. Keep it going, build on momentum, right? We're all in this together. So if you need anything or if you have any questions about your diet, how to set it up for your own life, your own situation, leave a comment below. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to do so. Hit the little button below, the little bell, to get notified every time I release a new video. If you're interested in joining our challenge, you can check out the link. It's in the first comment. Check out our website, thetruetransformation.com. I'll be back soon with more videos to help get you through this time and future times ahead. Talk to you soon. Peace.